Rick and Sparrow, barely surviving the fierce battle with the massive slime creature, face the storm's aftermath. With the ship crumbling around them, Rick escapes the chaos on his water bike, desperate to outrun the haunting memories that resurface. As the waves crash, Rick's mind spirals into bitterness and anger, fixating on the betrayal of a woman from his past. While speeding through the turbulent sea, Rick encounters a mysterious wrecked ship. Driven by curiosity and a lingering need for purpose, he boards the vessel with Sparrow. Inside, the dangers escalate as they battle zombies and unravel the ship's eerie secrets. Along the way, they rescue Cole, navigate flooded chambers, and face increasingly powerful infected threats, including a glowing, airborne woman and ice-wielding zombies. In their final confrontation, a colossal slime creature reemerges on the afterdeck, nearly pulling Rick and Sparrow into its deadly grasp. As the ship collapses under the weight of burning fuel drums and waves, Rick unleashes every round from his G3 rifle, narrowly defeating the monster. The episode ends with Rick riding away on his water bike, still haunted by the storm within, his unresolved past and the shadows he can't escape. Rick sped across the open sea, his jet ski slicing through the restless waves like a dagger cutting through fabric. The storm had passed, but its echoes lingered in Rick's chest, a heavy weight pressing down with each breath. The ghost of his past clung to him, as relentless and cold as the spray of seawater against his face. His grip tightened on the jet ski's handles, knuckles whitening as he leaned forward, eyes fixed on the endless stretch of water that seemed to mirror the emptiness inside him. Every surge of the engine felt like a futile attempt to outrun the shadows trailing behind. Then, on the horizon, something shifted. Rick squinted, unsure if his mind was playing tricks on him. A silhouette emerged, massive structures rising from the sea like jagged peaks. As he drew closer, the outline of an unfamiliar settlement solidified before him, its towering forms reaching skyward from the water. Rick slowed the jet ski as the water beneath him became calmer, as if the ocean itself respected the presence of the colossal city ahead. Ark City was vast, built entirely over the water with sleek, towering buildings that reflected the afternoon sun. Ladders descended from platforms lining the city's edge, inviting him but offering no clue of what lay beyond. Rick coasted toward the nearest ladder, stepping off the jet ski with a heavy heart. As he climbed, each rung groaned softly under his weight. His rifle, slung across his back, felt heavier than usual, a reminder that safety was a fleeting luxury. When he reached the top, Rick pulled himself onto the platform and stood, taking in his surroundings. The city was quiet, but not dead. The streets stretched ahead in clean, deliberate paths, weaving between glass structures and towering spires. In the center of the plaza stood a massive statue, a figure of a robed sentinel, watching over the city like an ancient guardian. Rick's instincts urged him to stay cautious. He drifted toward the statue, boots echoing on the wet ground as the sound of distant waves lapped beneath the city. As he neared the monument, something caught his eye, a figure standing just beyond the statue, half concealed by its base. Rick's gaze shifted left, where the path led him closer. The individual's face became clearer, a man with a weathered expression and eyes that carried stories of their own. Rick halted a few feet away, studying him cautiously. Its presence unsettled him. Who else had made it to Ark City? And why? The man finally spoke, his voice carrying over the plaza. "Welcome to Ark City. I thought someone like you might show up eventually." Rick's grip tightened slightly on his rifle. Whatever Ark City was, it held secrets Rick knew he couldn't ignore. With nowhere else to go, he pressed on, diving deeper into the heart of the silent metropolis. Rick approached Leslie, who was standing near the statue, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. The tension in the air was palpable, and Rick wasted no time. "We need to move." "There's something more to this place," Rick said, his voice firm. Leslie nodded in agreement, but before they could proceed, Rick pulled out his communicator and contacted Sparrow. "Sparrow, I need you here." "We're heading into the crystal hunt," Rick said. Moments later, Sparrow arrived, her weapons at the ready. Together, the trio made their way toward a massive gate, which led them into the crystal hunt area. As soon as they entered, Rick's eyes narrowed at the sight before him. Zombies, motionless but clearly waiting for prey, stood scattered across the glimmering crystal ground. Without hesitation, Rick hoisted his Fungus Flamethrower and unleashed a torrent of fire, engulfing the undead in bright, burning flames. The zombies crumbled, their ashen remains scattering into the wind. After clearing the immediate area, Rick's attention was drawn to a large, abandoned tank near the edge of the arena. "This could come in handy," Rick remarked. He climbed inside, taking control of the vehicle, while Sparrow hopped onto the side, manning the tank's external cannon. As Rick drove forward, Sparrow scanned the surroundings for any lingering threats. More zombies emerged from the shadows, but Sparrow's precise aim and Rick's maneuvering allowed them to cut through the horde with ease. Explosions echoed across the crystalline landscape as Sparrow's shots obliterated clusters of zombies, ensuring their path remained clear. At the far end of the area, a towering structure loomed. A single tower, sleek and metallic, stood at its center. Rick guided the tank closer, halting as they approached the base of the tower. "That must be the signal tower," Sparrow observed. "It looks like it can call for extraction." Rick dismounted the tank and approached a nearby console. With a few quick inputs, a green light illuminated the tower, and the distant hum of rotor blades filled the air. A helicopter, responding to their signal, descended from the sky, landing on a platform near the tower. "Our ride out of here," Rick said, signaling for Sparrow and Leslie to follow. As the helicopter touched down, Rick felt a surge of relief but remained cautious. The journey was far from over, but for now, they had secured a way to the next stage of their perilous mission. As the helicopter touched down, the team disembarked onto a narrow plate suspended over a vast expanse of water. The chill in the air was unmistakable, and the ground beneath their feet was slick with moisture. Rick immediately scanned the surroundings, his instincts on high alert. "Stay sharp," Rick said, his voice low, as he motioned for Sparrow to follow him. They moved cautiously across the plate, each step measured, knowing this was just another part of the challenge ahead. Suddenly, a plate rose from the water ahead of them, and 10 zombies shuffled toward them, their eyes glowing with hunger. Without hesitation, Rick raised his Fungus Flamethrower and unleashed a sweeping wave of fire. The flames roared as they consumed the undead, turning them to ash. The air stank of burning flesh, but the path ahead was clear. They pressed forward, and again, another plate emerged from the water, this time with 10 more zombies lurking in the shadows. Rick's grip on his flamethrower tightened as he stepped forward, igniting the next wave of enemies. The zombies screeched as they were engulfed in flames, their bodies turning to charred remains before being swept away by the wind. The trio continued their journey, each step more deliberate as they moved deeper into the maze of plates. The next plate appeared, and as Rick expected, another group of zombies emerged. This time, there were only 10, but the fire from Rick's flamethrower swiftly took care of them, leaving only smoke and the scent of burning ash in the air. "That's 3, Leslie muttered, wiping the sweat from his brow. "How many more?" Rick didn't answer immediately, his focus unwavering as they moved to the next plate. But as they reached it, something felt different. The water below was still, the air thick with anticipation. At the center of the next plate stood a familiar structure, a sleek, metallic signal tower, its purpose clear. "This is it," Sparrow said, her voice a mix of relief and caution. "The signal tower. We can call for extraction here." Rick approached the console, his movements quick but measured. He activated the system, and within moments, the hum of rotor blades filled the air. A helicopter, descending through the mist, touched down on the platform with a loud thud. Their ride out of this strange, treacherous zone was finally here. "We're moving on," Rick said, looking over at Sparrow and Leslie. "Next stage, here we come." The helicopter touched down, and Rick and Sparrow stepped onto a narrow plate suspended over a vast, mist-covered water. The air was damp, and danger was palpable. "Stay sharp," Rick warned as they moved cautiously forward. Suddenly, a plate rose from the water, and 10 zombies emerged. Rick quickly ignited his Fungus Flamethrower, sweeping the undead away in a blaze. They pressed on, and again, another plate appeared with 10 more zombies. Without hesitation, Rick fired another stream of flames, clearing the path. "This is getting repetitive," Sparrow commented, sweat on her brow. They reached the next plate, where a metallic signal tower stood. Rick activated the console, summoning the helicopter. It landed, and they boarded, ready for the next stage. As they lifted off, Rick's mind shifted to the new island ahead, a place with even greater challenges. They were prepared for whatever came next. As the helicopter touched down on the next island, Rick and Sparrow disembarked, the air thick with the scent of decay. Ahead of them, a massive, infected giant towered over the landscape. Its eyes glowed with a maddened hunger, and its grotesque form twisted with grotesque mutations. Without a word, Rick raised his G3 automatic rifle and took aim. He fired a burst of shots, each bullet hitting the giant with precise force. The creature roared in pain but kept advancing, its monstrous form crashing toward them. Rick kept firing, his fingers steady on the trigger, each shot punctuating the air. With a final, explosive round, the giant collapsed, its hulking body crumpling to the ground with a deafening crash. "That's one less problem," Rick muttered, lowering his rifle. He motioned for Sparrow to follow as they made their way off the island, ready to face whatever challenge awaited them next. As Rick stood alone on the edge of Ark City, the weight of the journey had finally taken its toll. The world around him felt like it was closing in. The towering buildings of the city loomed, casting long shadows, while the endless horizon seemed like a reminder of his isolation. He paced back and forth, his breathing shallow, each footstep growing heavier. The panic clawed at his chest, tightening with every passing second. The memories of battles fought, the faces of those he couldn't save, and the relentless fight for survival all rushed through his mind. The crushing sense of loneliness overwhelmed him. His hands trembled, and his heart raced. His vision blurred, and the ground beneath him seemed to shift. His body screamed for relief, but his mind was trapped in a storm of fear and doubt. He couldn't escape the memories, the pressure, the weight of everything he'd been through. Why am I still fighting?" Rick muttered to himself, his voice a shaky whisper. He had always been strong, but now, in this moment of intense vulnerability, it all seemed pointless. Suddenly, the sound of waves crashing against the shore reached his ears. Without thinking, Rick took a step forward, his legs moving instinctively. The sea stretched out before him, dark and vast, offering an escape from the chaos in his mind. In a split second, Rick's panic took control. He didn't stop to think, he simply ran toward the edge and, with a final, desperate breath, leaped into the cold, unforgiving sea below. The waves swallowed him whole, his body sinking deeper as the weight of his actions took hold.